Victor.adetiba with scrumlife.com, back with our What is Scrum book club, where we discuss and demystify Scrum for the masses. This episode is sponsored by Master Tech Training Academy, link in the description. If you've gotten any value from any of our videos on this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Today we're reading another excerpt from our book, 97 Things Every Scrum Practitioner Should Know, Collective Wisdom from the Experts, edited by Gunther Verheyen. Page 64. Digital tools considered harmful, Jira, Bas Vad. At the time of this writing, Jira is probably the most widely used digital tool in Scrum, and less adoptions. Unfortunately, using Jira commonly leads to some predictable dysfunctions. Scrum confusion. Many companies start enterprise-wide Scrum adoption by mandating Jira. People learn Scrum through Jira, or so they think. However, Jira was never a Scrum tool. It is an issue tracking tool with many ideas integrated into it, such as Scrum and many not Scrum. Teams end up adopting ideas that they think or were told are included in Scrum. The overall result is anti-Scrum. How? Scrum has a minimum of prescriptions as it implements empirical process control. Team practices are not prescribed or fixed, but are adopted and adapted as context changes. Scrum implies team-owned processes rather than tool-owned processes. Product and sprint backlog integration. Jira integrates the product and sprint backlogs. This might seem like a good idea, but in practice, it is not. It leads to confusion about their purposes. The product backlog contains items that represent product features or improvement work. The product owner uses the product backlog for tracking product progress, deciding which features to create next, and making scope, time, cost trade-offs. The sprint backlog is a plan from the team on how they were going to attempt to achieve the goal of the sprint. It is valid for one sprint. It is created at the start of the sprint, never earlier, and ceases to exist at the end of the sprint. The team keeps it up to date all the time. It enables them to take a shared responsibility and manage all the in-sprint work. Integrating the sprint backlog and product backlog easily leads to the product owner and management tracking in-sprint progress. By doing so, they take over the responsibility of the team to manage their own progress during the sprint. The temptation to interrupt the team during their sprint is often irresistible. This changes Scrum from a framework for supporting self-managing teams to a micromanagement framework. No shared team responsibility. Good teams avoid having half-done items at the end of the sprint. They do so by truly taking a shared responsibility and by working one or a few items at a time. They achieve this through fine-grained task splitting so that each team member can pick up tasks related to the same item at the same time. Creating tasks in Jira is slow. This might be because Jira itself is slow. Most of my experiences with Jira were self-hosted installations, and they were all slow. Or it might be because tasks are created in sprint planning with one person typing. Whatever the reason for the slowness, all teams I've observed minimize their Jira typing time by avoiding small tasks. Large tasks lead to less shared work, which leads to less shared team responsibility, which leads to a less effective team. How do you know this might be happening? Half-done items at the end of the sprint and the team talking about spillover or carryover work. The phrases carryover and spillover are signs of dysfunctional Scrum. We're stuck with Jira. Now what? How can you use Jira so that it causes the least amount of harm? My recommendations are: never use Jira for sprint backlogs. When using Jira for a product backlog, simplify it. Make it work like a spreadsheet. Avoid any complicated features and avoid workflows. Out-of-the-box Jira is already too complicated. I agree with this for the most part. There are a lot of features and functionality in Jira that most teams don't know how to use, most people don't know how to use. And so Jira can definitely overcomplicate the work that a team does. From the business perspective, though, I can see why Jira is an important tool for the business. And so on my teams, I've tried to do this as well. One, minimize how much we do in Jira and maximize how much we do outside of Jira as a team, together, collectively, as a unit. Um, Jira has some amazing reporting capabilities that could also be used for micromanagement by leadership. And so I like to use the metric and reporting features in Jira for the team to reflect the way they've worked and for them to be able to see some empirical data around the work that they've done, whether that is unplanned work that's come in mid-sprint, whether that's our sprint completion rate, whether that's looking at our uh, velocity over time, whether that's looking at our burn down chart or burn up chart uh, during the sprint to see how work is flowing, how value is flowing out of the team. I like to make the team aware of these metrics so that they understand how they're performing from a empirical data perspective. But yes, a lot of team members, product owners, scrum masters are intimidated by Jira and many other tools that teams use to manage their workflow or the tickets that they commit to. Did you gain any value from today's episode? Give us a like, leave me a comment, tell me exactly what you think. Does your team use Jira? Do you guys use Azure DevOps? Do you use something else? Leave us a comment and subscribe so that you can get notified of any time we release a video. I'm looking forward to seeing you in our next episode. Thanks.